Did you know that one of the most famous climbers in history, Sir Edmund Hillary, was actually turned away from multiple climbing schools before he made it to the top of Everest? Join us as we step into the forgotten corners of mountaineering, where ambition overshadows truth, and the world's highest peaks hide the world's darkest secrets. Let's begin with Everest, the roof of the world. In 1924, British climbers George Mallory and Andrew Irvine vanished near the summit. A photo of Mallory's wife was found with his body in 1999, but Irvine was never recovered, and neither was the truth. Did they reach the summit or die trying? The ambiguity didn't just spark debate, it set a tone for the entire climbing world. In mountaineering, myth often matters more than fact. And that's not just history. Today, the race to the top continues, only now it's louder, deadlier, and more commercialized than ever. In 2019, the world watched in horror as photos emerged of a traffic jam on Everest's upper slopes, a human line stretched across the death zone. That year, 11 people died. Many lacked the experience for such a climb. But why were they there? Because expedition companies, eager for money, accepted nearly anyone with a checkbook, no matter the risk. Guides knew some clients wouldn't survive, but they took them anyway. And sometimes the danger isn't physical, it's fictional. In 2016, Indian police officers Dinesh and Tarakeshwari Rathod claimed to have reached Everest summit. But climbers quickly noticed something odd. Their gear didn't match summit conditions. Their photos? Doctored. It was all fake. The fallout was severe, a 10-year mountaineering ban and public humiliation. But here's the truth. They weren't alone. Across the Himalayas, dozens have been caught faking summits, chasing sponsorships, grants, and fame. Some even received medals before being exposed. Christian Stangl, an Austrian climber, claimed a solo summit of K2 in 2010. But after scrutiny, he admitted the truth. He never made it. He staged photos because he feared failure, and pressure from sponsors pushed him over the edge. Ironically, his confession earned praise. But few ask the harder question. What kind of system rewards lies more than vulnerability? Then there's Dean Potter. He was a legend, walking slack lines above canyons, free soloing massive granite walls. But even legends aren't immune to controversy. His 2002 solo of Cerro Torres compressor route sparked skepticism. There were inconsistencies in his story, missing details. The climbing community split between admiration and doubt. Potter died in a wingsuit crash in 2015, but the questions about his ethics didn't die with him. Ethics in climbing can be murky and deadly. Today, more climbers are chasing firsts, youngest, fastest, boldest, and the pressure to stretch the truth grows. But the consequences aren't always limited to the climber. In July 2023, on K2, the world's second highest peak, Pakistani high-altitude porter Mohammed Hassan collapsed near the bottleneck, one of the most dangerous sections of the mountain. Over 50 climbers passed him. Some stepped over his dying body. Only a few tried to help. Rescuers claimed someone cut the fixed ropes, making rescue almost impossible. Others suspected it wasn't an accident. The outrage was intense. Austrian climber Wilhelm Steindl called it a failure of humanity. But in many ways, it wasn't new. Porters and Sherpas have long been the backbone of Himalayan climbing, carrying loads, fixing ropes, and risking their lives for a fraction of the pay. In 2014, 16 Sherpas died in an avalanche on Everest. Most were buried alive. Their families received just $400 each in compensation. $400 for a father, a brother, a son. The mountain stopped for a moment, and then business resumed. There was no investigation, no reform, just another season. And what happens after tragedy? Sometimes silence. When accidents occur, many expedition companies offer quiet settlements, but they often come with NDAs, non-disclosure agreements, legal gags that prevent survivors or families from speaking out. These documents aren't just paper, they're tools that erase stories before they're ever told. The myth of heroism remains untouched. The real cost? Buried with the dead. Now let's talk about rivalries and the war for legacy. In Patagonia, the infamous Cerro Torre Bolt War shook the climbing world. In 1970, Italian climber Cesare Maestri used a gas-powered compressor to install hundreds of bolts up the mountain's face. Climbers were divided. Was it a bold ascent or mechanical vandalism? In 2012, Hayden Kennedy and Jason Kruk removed many of those bolts. They believed in climbing with purity, without shortcuts. Their actions reignited the debate. What makes an ascent valid? Style? Difficulty? Integrity? The answer depends on who you ask. Then there's Welly Steck, the Swiss machine, a man of speed and silence. He broke records on the Eiger, Annapurna, and Everest. But in 2013, after a daring solo climb of Annapurna's south face, questions swirled. There were no photos, no GPS logs. Steck said he climbed light and fast, no time for proof. Some believed him, others whispered. The climb remains unverified. Steck died in 2017, training for another Himalayan expedition, and the mystery followed him into the snow. But there are more recent questions too. In 2021, Norwegian climber Kristin Harila attempted to break the record for climbing all 14 8,000ers in the shortest time, but her climb sparked skepticism. Some questioned whether she reached the true summits. Others criticized the heavy use of helicopters and Sherpa support. Her defenders argue she was playing by modern rules. Her critics say she rewrote them mid-game. The truth, as always, is slippery. But perhaps the most buried secret in mountaineering is not a scandal, it's the silence. Climbers are idolized for their strength, stoicism, and courage. But mental health in the mountains is a whispered ghost. PTSD, depression, survivor's guilt, they follow many back down the mountain. But few talk about it. Joe Simpson, author of Touching the Void, has spoken out about the psychological cost of survival. So has Steve House. But they are exceptions. Most climbers fear that vulnerability could end their careers. Brands want fearless heroes, not haunted ones. And the system prefers silence. Whistleblowers face blacklisting. Expedition companies guard their reputations like summits. Gear sponsors avoid controversy. In an industry fueled by millions in sponsorships and tourism, the truth is inconvenient. And so the narrative stays the same. Clean, glorious, heroic. You'll see the sunrise from the summit, flags fluttering in the thin air, but you won't see the frostbitten fingers. The bodies were left behind, the family that never got answers. You won't see the lawsuits, the payoffs, or the NDAs. But they're there. So where does that leave us? Climbing remains beautiful. It remains inspiring. But if we want to truly respect this sport and the lives it touches, we need to confront its shadows. Because not every summit is honest. Not every hero is innocent. And not every death is just part of the game. It's time we stopped glorifying suffering and started demanding transparency. Respecting the mountains also means respecting the people climbing them. All of them. If you've made it this far, thank you. Like and subscribe for more stories that go deeper than the headlines. Head out on your next adventure. The journey never ends.